Yes. So it's really dumb is not the right word. It's distracted. It's just distracted. It's distracted effort, distracted focus. And so when you're under pressure and duress, sometimes you just fall into bad habits, default habits, distracted actions. And so, we spent a lot of time the other night being really distracted in a disappointing way. But it's human nature. It's what it is. It's what you fight as an athlete, is the ability to just kind of get back to focused on this moment. We didn't do it very well.
When you look at the film of Tuesday, is there any one thing defensively where you see, like, if this can be fixed or improved upon, then maybe this and this and this and this follows that?
Yes, it's when you think about the disappointing things for us, just us flagging the ball in transition. It's so wildly out of character for our teams. We've been really disciplined. We've been a really good transition defensive team overall. Now, credit to Louisville, because they put a ton of pressure on you with the pace of play. I mean, we gave up 34 points in the first 8 seconds of the shot clock. That's actually really hard to do. And there was so much, and our response to the pressure was to get out of character, and that's how you grow as a team, right? You see it, you diagnose it, you try and understand why. Sometimes that's what we miss, but really trying to understand why. Why is that the default? Why did I go there? What's happening in my heart and head and mind and my IQ about why I'm responding that way, and then it helps you focus on being better on that in the future. Certainly that'll be the upside of that.
How close is Tristan Nowak to coming back?
He's doing good. I expect him to be full today in practice, so I think he's doing really well.
Was he available Tuesday?
He was available, yeah.
What? Obviously 4 guys back, but when it's still mostly a new team, what's the most difficult part of forming that defensive identity and teaching a collective group this early in the season?
I don't think there's anything unique. It's just doing it under duress. I think that's it. It's, for our guys, it was the first time this group was on the road playing against a good team, and we didn't respond well at all. And it was a little bit of a. When I say we didn't respond well, I'm saying that in spaces we did not respond well at all. And I'm going to keep going back to this concept of distracted, because that's what I'm sitting on right now. That's kind of where I am, trying to understand why we were out of character in so many ways. And I think there's a lot of things that lead to that that we're kind of talking about in our locker room. And that's, like I said, that's not a unique thing. That's an every team, everyday thing, but I think there was a lot of that going around for us.
Mark, you talked post-game about some different lineup combinations, some different vibes out in court. Obviously, a lot of that's product of game scoring situation, but can you talk about the process of kind of finding those right fits, especially on the fly and in an environment like you had on Tuesday?
Yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about our roster, and it's going to be really fun for us to figure out this year, is when and where and how and who and why, right? We have a lot of, not only do we have a lot of pieces that are really exciting to explore, but then combinations are exciting to explore, and then in different dynamics of a game, it's really exciting to explore. And so there's a real learning curve there that's going to be fun and challenging for our team and our staff. I'm really grateful to have that challenge, but it's going to be a real challenge for us. And so it's just a matter of knowing each other and knowing each other in different situations, and knowing each other in different type of matchups, and knowing each other in different type of gravity challenges and spacing challenges, and knowing each other as we're facing different defensive schemes and offensive schemes and how we function together. It's just like all the things put together. It's pretty exciting to consider.
With that in mind, was there something you felt like you hit on against Louisville, especially in the second half, and conversely maybe something that you're maybe more averse to from a lineup standpoint just because it went poorly on Tuesday?
No, I don't know. It's one of the things that we can do especially in an emotional night like that, is I think we can overreach and overstep. Usually you're not going to take it. I mean, we're always collecting data. You guys know I love data so much. But you also can get tricked. Like, sample size matters. And so I think we are always learning things about our team and how we can fit together. In terms of making final judgments or edicts or far-reaching final opinions on anything about how the composition of our team or how we're working lineups or rosters, I think we're still a ways away from that.
Talk about that in relation to Cam some Tuesday night. Obviously didn't play in the first half, provided some spark in the second. Just what was he maybe not doing, or what would you like to see more of to get him minutes in a situation like that earlier?
Yeah, well, I have the same conversation with Cam every single day, and that's about him being more aggressive and assertive and more physical. He's got a massive upside. He's incredibly talented, but he's also being asked to do things at a level with an intensity and aggressiveness that is different. And I'll tell you the thing I was most proud of Cam. We grade out our bench every game, and he was elite the entire first half. It was the first half, I think, this season where he hasn't scratched, and he was unbelievable. And it's just a credit to him. And then he came in the second half, and he was actually really, really functional. He helped us in a lot of ways, and that's the type of thing that we need on this roster, is for guys to stay engaged and stay on it and stay involved and keep their whole hearts and heads and minds in it regardless of the flow of the game. And he was a brilliant example of that for us. I'm really proud of him. And we all believe he's got a huge future ahead of him, and it's going to come in all different forms in a zigzag path. But I thought he was great. He was incredible in his refusal to be distracted. He was great.
Yesterday was an off day, but if you've had a chance to be around the guys, what's the mood around them, and what's the mood around the coaching staff?
I think excited. Listen, here's the deal: is there's no doubt that the loss a couple of nights ago, any loss for us is like the most devastating thing in the world. That's a real true thing. And then we also have a massive responsibility, and it's just a life lesson for our guys. It's like, great. The only thing we can do about that is be better tomorrow. That's the only way we can approach it. And so that's it. It's just we just focus on, when you have setbacks. A setback is it's either going to be a setback forever, or you're going to turn it into the pivotal moment in your growth. And really, you get to write that story, and that never changes. It doesn't change inside sports. It doesn't change outside of sports. In your life, it's exactly the same way as it is in sports. Is we have all these experiences. Some can be devastating, some can be really tough, but they're either going to be devastating and tough for the rest of your life, or you're going to make them into something that was like a pivotal, life-changing moment. And I believe in that. And so we don't have any time to feel sorry for ourselves, feel down, frustrated, anything else. It is incredibly, massively painful. It's haunting. It sits in your gut. It makes you want to vomit in your mouth. All those totally natural reactions. But it's our job to understand the gift we have in life and in sport to move on and rewrite the story. We always get to rewrite the story. And that's our job now, is to rewrite the story where this pain actually turns into something positive. And it's not the last time. It happens over and over and over again. And the people that can keep being rewriters, I think, end up having incredible success and joy and growth. And the people that get stuck in rumination and maybe sometimes self-pity, I think it's really hard. We got no space for that here, for sure.
How much of that is you speaking from personal experience? Because I know you've talked about the psychology of losing before, and how that's something you struggle with, that you've been working on. After a big loss like that, rivalry game, how are you coping with that?
I keep telling myself, get to constructive. It's when you have a tough night like that, it's really important that I think that you spend more time looking for internal answers and validation rather than external. I think it's really, really important. Again, not just in sports, in life also. I think there's the same. And, you know, I think that within all, and when I say internal, I mean inside your own heart and your own faith space for sure. And I also mean within your own locker room, that you really, everybody looks inward instead of continuing on in this kind of mode of taking in all the external information. Deb is really good at briefing me on any storylines that are out there, but that's about all that I get on purpose. It's very intentional because we have a job to do, and right now we're going to get that job done by facing internal. I strenuously suggested to my guys that they put down their phones for a couple of days. I don't think that's actually humanly possible for that younger generation. But the less burden they take in from external sources, and the more they can stay focused on like the reality that we create in our own locker room, because we're actually the world's experts at what we do. And sometimes you get tricked that you're not. And so I think all of that's really important, all with the goal of getting it constructive really fast. You go through the 5 stages of grief. It's absolutely real. In athletics, I know it sounds trite, but it's absolutely real. You go through the 5 stages of grief, and you got to get through them fast because you just don't have time. And so we try and rush through them and get to constructive.
What do you know about Eastern Illinois and what they bring?
Really good team. They beat Nichols. They challenged Notre Dame, gave Notre Dame a good challenge. They're a really incredibly disciplined team. They run their actions. They screen and cut and move, and it makes sense. They can shoot the ball. They have some really aggressive scorers. They have some length and physicality. They're a really good team, and it's going to be a great challenge for us Friday. It'll be a great challenge.
Tuesday was an emotional night, and you're going to have a lot more emotional nights throughout the season. How intentional are you in talking to your guys about keeping their emotions in check, and how do you think they're going to do?
You always live in the tension with that. You always live in the tension. I actually think we did I'm not ready to tell the story yet, but at some point we'll talk in detail about our pre-game experience at Louisville, and it was out of character for us, and that's young and new, and so, I actually don't want to. I don't want to keep our emotions in check. It wouldn't be exactly the words. I'd say I want to keep them focused, and I want to keep them intentional. So I want our guys to have all of the emotion. First of all, what's the point if you can't have all the emotion? But I don't want our guys to be run by their emotion. I want them to be able to focus their emotion. And I know that sounds 30,000 foot level stuff, but that's I'm being very specific on that. And so that's one of the things with being an athlete, especially being an athlete at Kentucky, is this ability to kind of not dumb down your emotion, not bridle your emotion even, but to just channel it and have it laser focused so it's intentional emotion, so you're controlling your emotion. Your emotion is not controlling you is a big deal. It's a learning process, and it's something that we'll continue to work on this year.
How advantageous is it to, obviously you want to win the game, but how advantageous is it to play this game on November 11th? Because it sounds like there's a lot of lessons to be learned on and off the court coming from it that maybe can be spun forward for the rest of the season.
I think every game we play is just, sorry, I wish I was giving you a better answer. But it's just we're learning so much every single game. This is our first road game, and so you learn stuff when you go on the road, and ideally you learn it through winning. Sometimes it's incredibly painful, and you learn it through losing. But every experience we have, today will be the first time we've had a practice exactly like we're having it today, so we're going to learn things. So I just wish we had more of them. I'm still pushing for 41.
How would you grade the communication and the environment that was happening in Louisville? Because I know you talked about they tend to get quieter instead of getting louder when things are going
Yeah, I thought we grade out body language on the court, and we had 3 guys that were underwater on our body language for the first time this year, including exhibition games. We hadn't had. I think we had 1 player underwater in 1 game was all. So that was disappointing. But again, that's not a. Sometimes we think about it like a body language criteria. And we think that someone's body language says something about their intent or their effort. It doesn't. It really doesn't. In genuine, it doesn't. It says something about their focus or lack of focus. And so our body language communication was poor in the game. And it's something that's incredibly fixable. And we have all guys with great hearts and great passion and care and want to win. So we can fix that. On court, our communication, our verbal communication wasn't great. My communication to the team wasn't as good as it needs to be for sure. Our scout prep communication, there were some things where we didn't actually follow things all the way to the end. I mean, I could get really specific on that actually, where, my game plan, the introductory idea was really good, and for example, in one little slice of the game, but I didn't follow it through all the way to the end, where there was clarifying stuff for my guys at the end of a possession, at the end of a branch of thinking, and so that's a place where we take it really seriously. We need to get way better, and we will.
Any setbacks on Jalen's shoulder?
He's got a lot of soreness, but I think in his whole body. But I think he's fine. I think he's in good shape.
Mark, with the understanding that small sample size, only 5 games with regular season exhibitions, have you thought about the shot selection so far this season on offense?
I'm just in an okay space right now. In some really simple ways. I think we have some. We started out the game brilliantly. So, to start the game in our first 15, not if you include offensive rebounds or fouls and then continuous plays, if you can include them as individual possessions, in 12 of our 15 first possessions, I thought we were elite at making plays for teammates. Elite. Now, we had 3 egregious non-make play for teammates plays. So in terms of our guys' ability to kind of understand and have a sense of earning each other really good shots, I think I was proud of that. We still were distracted, lost discipline in some of our decision-making spaces, where we force ourselves to, instead of using the skills and the techniques we've learned to buy yourself more time to make a decision, we kind of raced into forcing ourselves to put ourselves in positions where we had to make split-second reads and decisions with no bailout, no safety. And so, that is an issue for us that sometimes leads to poor shots and sometimes leads to poor execution. But that's it will be a work in progress for the rest of these guys' careers. But it's a work in progress for us. So I'm okay. Clearly, we're going to get way better. But there's a lot of good there also.
What impressed you about Denzel and his ability to stay in the game?
Denzel is awesome, man. He is just he's pretty good about not carrying emotional weight around with him. Because you can, during the course of a game, you can just start to pile on emotional weight, good and bad and sideways and all the things. He's pretty good about not carrying a bunch of emotional weight. He had back-to-back possessions where he banged a wide open 3 off the side of the backboard from the top of the key and then shot an air ball from the wing. And then he had back-to-back in the same possession 3s from the right corner. He missed both of those, and he still shoots 4 for 10 for the 3-point line, 40%, which is pretty good. And that's just him. He's pretty good about moving on to the next possession. He's got a pretty special competitor's heart, where he just is, he's a good model for our guys in the sense of he's just on to the next thing. He's not carrying a ton of baggage with him. And I think that's one of the reasons why he functioned at a pretty high level in this game on the road, is because he's pretty used to just moving on to the next play, and that's something our team will get really good at, but we're not great at yet in a tough environment.
How difficult is it to teach that? Can you teach that? Is it more natural than anything with the moving on?
I think teaching is an interesting thing. I think teaching is really interesting. So I think in the sense that you can give a clear concept and then you can illustrate it and then you can recognize it in real time over and over and over again. If that's what the teaching part is, then yes, for sure. But sometimes you got to unpack layers of a person before they are ready to hear that, or ready to understand it, or ready to adopt it, right? So 100% yes, for sure it's a skill, and for sure it's a skill that you can learn and grow 100%, no doubt.
Can you give us a jury duty update?
Yeah, jeez. So I made it through. My last check-in was last night. Why does that sound like I'm at a detox center or something? I'm not sure, but my last call-in was last night, and so that was one of the saving graces of the last few days was I will not be in a jury in the foreseeable future, which I'm grateful for. But I kind of make light of that, but it's actually something that I think is really important. I think, you don't need to hear legal commentary from me, but I do think that our legal system, for all of its shortcomings, is beautiful in the fact that it's got this concept of being able to be judged by a jury of your peers. I think that's actually a beautiful, beautiful concept, and I'm grateful that as citizens we get to have a role in that, and I think that's really important, something I like to honor. So I kind of joke about it, but it's something I take pretty seriously, and I'm grateful for all the people that serve to do that, because it's an important part of our society.
Would you lobby to be the foreman if you were?
I don't know. That I just feel like I would just be a giant distraction. I'm trying to get rid of the distractions. I'm not sure how that would work. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.